The camera is not really doing it justice. It's quite snowy out there today, and I'm having a lazy day. Chores are done, and that's about it. It's already time for lunch. Come see what I'm having. I didn't have my typical smoothie for breakfast today. I had granola. Homemade granola. But it's been there since before Christmas and I need to keep it moving. I made a bunch for having guests in the house and they didn't eat as much as I hoped. And now I'm lazy and I had an open bag of Tostitos and an open jar of salsa that needs to be used up. This is what I'm having for lunch today. Dan will come downstairs in a few minutes and pull together some kind of leftovers out of the fridge. We still have some of the pepper pot beef in the fridge with rice and vegetables, and he might just reheat that, or he might make himself some ramen. Who knows? We fly by the seat of our pants for some of these meals. We don't have children to feed, just ourselves, each other, so there are days when we just get what we want. This is using up leftovers out of the cabinet. That's not a bad thing. It's not going to go to waste if I actually eat it. I'll catch you later for dinner. Hey friends, it's Tuesday, January 9th, and we are all out of leftovers. I might have a few things still in the cupboards, but nothing in the fridge. It's time for us to fix something fresh. Come on down to the counter and see what I'm making for tonight. I have jarred potatoes. I'm going to give them a try. I did those in December and I've never tried them yet, so let's see what I think of my home canned potatoes. I have Brussels sprouts that we got during our last Costco haul on December 31st, so I'll leave a link for you to check that out, and I'll put a card above, but I need to eat them. I can't just leave them sitting in the fridge. I have diced up half of a green pepper that was in the fridge, and I've diced up 2 onions. I'm going to be using my cream of anything soup base to make a gravy. And I pulled some pork chops out of the freezer from July, so they need to be used up. I've got 4 pork chops there. I've got some water in the pot for the Brussels sprouts. I'm going to bring those to a boil. I've put some pork lard in my frying pan. I'll use that to cook the pork chops in. It seems only appropriate. I'm going to start by frying and softening up the peppers and onions. There's only half of a green pepper in here, so it's not really going to be an overpowering flavor, but it will be a flavor that is not just onion. I'm going to put in a bit of celery seed. I could chop fresh celery, but I didn't do it, so I'm just going to throw that in. While these are softening, I'm going to get the potatoes into the pot. Okay, those onions are starting to brown a little bit. I've turned the heat down, and I'm going to put my pork chops in. I didn't realize when I took these out of the freezer that these 2 pork chops actually have a marinade on them. They are a maple and mustard, but that won't be horrible with our meal tonight. I will only eat probably 2/3 of that small pork chop, so we're definitely going to have some leftovers. I'm just scraping off some of the marinade so I'm not totally spoiling this meal. I'm going to sprinkle that with some pepper, especially the plain ones. There is no salt in any of the products I'm doing, so let's put a little bit of salt on there and some garlic powder. I'm still waiting for the Brussels sprouts to come to a boil, but my pork chops are already about halfway done. I just keep stirring these onions so they don't stick to the bottom. They are caramelizing beautifully. That's exactly what I want. I want that caramelized flavor to go into my cream of anything soup base. This will be very similar to the can of mushroom soup gravy over your pork chops that has been done everywhere for years. But I'm allergic to mushrooms, so I can't just open a can. And besides, those cans are full of chemicals and preservatives, and we don't know what they're doing to our body. This soup base is made from freeze-dried milk and cornstarch, which is, you know, it can be bad too, and some chicken bovril, chicken bouillon base, powder base. So it's got a lot less chemicals than a can of mushroom soup. And it's for a fraction of the price. Once you count how many servings you get out of it, it's a fraction of the price. My pork chops are finished. I'm going to remove those to a plate. And this is ready to go. I made them nice and crispy brown on purpose. I want that glazing in the pan. I want that crispiness in the bottom of the pan. I have a cup of cold water. You don't want to put cold water into your cast iron pan, but I'll show you what's next. My cup and a quarter of cold water and my third of a cup of my soup base. Okay, and I'm going to use the onions to warm this up before it hits the pan. So it's not going to shock my pan. That tempers everything so that the temperatures are more similar. Okay, I've switched from a fork to a whisk, and I'm just going to basically deglaze the pan and thicken this mix. I'm turning the heat off, and that's it. That is our gravy mix. If it's too thick, you can add more water or you can add milk. We actually have some cream in the fridge that's coming close to its best by date, and we won't use it fast enough, so I'm going to pour a little bit of cream in there to make this a little less thick. The heat is off. Probably a quarter cup. And that's basically onion gravy now. Instead of mushroom soup gravy, it's onion soup gravy. Cream of onion soup gravy. At this point, you have the option of serving this as gravy completely separate, or you can put your pork chops back in there and let them simmer and stay warm. Everything else is done now. My Brussels sprouts are finished. My potatoes just need to be mashed. I prefer to have this on top rather than completely soaking it, at least for today. Another day I might leave it soaking. So there we go, 2 plates, oops, I'm gonna drop it in a second. There we go, 2 plates of food. And I want Dan to tell me what he thinks of this gravy. Let me see what you think of this gravy. I haven't tried it yet myself.
It's gravy.
You goofball.
Needs a little bit more pepper, but otherwise it's very rich. It's very nice tasting.
Okay, good. Good, let me try it. He thinks it's good. He thinks it needs... What are you doing? Goofball. He thinks it needs pepper. He's putting pepper on his right now. Let me have a taste. Yeah, it needs some salt and pepper. Otherwise, it's good. But, as I said while I was making it, I don't pepper any of my things or salt any of my things until it goes on the plate or until in the middle of the cooking process. All of my preserved foods are no salt. So I'll put some salt and pepper on this and go enjoy my dinner. See you tomorrow, guys. I have my sandwich press heating up. You know what that means. It's lunchtime. So I'm having a gluten-free tortilla, turkey, some Dijon mustard, And some cheddar cheese. My press is heated up, and again I'm just going to put it seam side down, put my wrap seam side down, and I would clamp it shut if my clamp was working. I think a simple S-clip might work, but I haven't created one. I can hear it sizzling. That looks perfect. About 4 minutes. So today's, I'm going to unplug that, let that cool off. Today's lunch is that wrap and a small apple with some caramel dip. I probably won't use all of the caramel dip. I can put that back in the fridge. But I bought a bag of apples for when the kids were all here, and those apples are going to go to waste if I don't use them, so there we go. We don't tend to grab the fresh fruit, and that's a habit that if it's in the fridge, I'm going to have to eat it. For years in our house, we've done a thing on Wednesday that I've called Fendsday. And that's basically a day where everybody just fends for themselves. And it usually falls Wednesday, so it works. Fendsday Wednesday. Basically, we're going to go into the freezer and pick out some appetizers that were left from Christmas and New Year's Eve, and some pork chops that were left from last night, and just picking and choosing whatever we choose, whatever we want to have out of the fridge that needs to be consumed, and we just kind of pick our own thing. I'll show you our plates in a minute. So there we have our dinner. Dan is having leftover pork chops and mashed potatoes from last night with a bit of raw vegetables next to it. And I'm having some broccoli, squash, and 2 gluten-free chicken burgers. There's no sense in leaving one in the freezer. I probably won't eat all of this, but a chicken patty can go back in the fridge and then just be microwaved tomorrow to warm it through. Fendsday, that's for dinner. Here's a quick glimpse at what I'm having for lunch today. I'm finishing off some cream cheese. I'm finishing off some turkey deli meat. I'm finishing off the last of a block of cheddar, and I'm trying to use up some of the crackers that are in the cupboard from New Year's Eve. I like to eat like this quite often. This is not uncommon for me. Lunches we fend for ourselves around here, so this is quick and easy to grab. Even when I was working outside of the home, I would take adult Lunchables with me. These are all gluten-free crackers too. They look great. You wouldn't know they're gluten-free. See you for dinner. I was just flipping through a course that I purchased for $25 or something about gluten-free cooking, and I came across naan bread. Tonight's dinner is going to be curry, so why not put some naan bread with that? As I was reading the reviews of the recipe within the course, there were 5 or 6 different comments that said it didn't work, it didn't work, it didn't work. And the course creator just came in and they answered each complaint with a substitution idea. Well, what if I'm sensitive to oats? What if I don't have oat flour? Oats are not gluten-free, which is a big deal for some people. Depends on where you get it from and what company. I know Quaker does have a gluten-free oats, but you would have to put it through a food mill or a processor to make it into oat flour. I don't want to go through that fuss. I'm going to use one of their substitutions, which was almond flour. And I'm going to mix it half and half with a all-purpose gluten-free flour. The recipe also calls for almond milk yogurt. I have regular yogurt. I don't have almond milk yogurt because I'm not dairy sensitive or vegan or anything like that. So I'm going to substitute the heck out of this recipe. Come on down to the counter and see how this comes together. See if I have any success with my experiment or not. Using the 1 cup measure, I've put in just about half with all-purpose, gluten-free all-purpose flour blend. And now I'm going to top that up with the almond flour, almond meal. That's good. So that's substituting the 1 cup of oat flour, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, a pinch of salt, and just mix that together with a fork. Now I need a teaspoon of olive oil, and I'm supposed to mix this in. Mix each of the next ingredients in completely before you put the following one in. So I'll do this. Some of the recipes, or some of the responses I was seeing to this recipe post was saying that the required amount of water was too much. So I'm going to put the water in last, and I'll put it in a little at a time so that I can go from there. I'll have it for my own records for the future if this is a success. Okay, so that was olive oil. And a 1/4 cup of almond milk yogurt. This is just regular yogurt. This is homemade. So that it's milk and culture from a previous yogurt. Mix that in. And it seems pretty clear that I'm going to need to put in some water. The recipe calls for 6 to 8 tablespoons. Let's start with 3. I'm almost thinking 3 might be too much. Yeah, look at that. 3 was almost, was probably too much. And I'm just going to use the gluten-free flour to coat my countertop so that it doesn't stick. A lot of gluten-free recipes actually benefit from sitting for 30 minutes before you start cooking them. I'm going to form this into a ball, and I'm going to cover it and leave it sit for 30 minutes. Then we'll go to the next step. Letting a recipe sit, especially if it has rice flour in it, helps to soften that rice and to eliminate some of the grittiness. So I'm just going to form that in a ball. I will put a sheet of plastic wrap over top of it, and I'm just going to leave it the way it is for 30 minutes. Okay, so there's my ball of dough. It's been sitting for half an hour. Let's make some progress from here. So the recipe suggests it should make 4 or 5 naan breads. So I'm going to just cut it in 4. It's easiest that way. And I have a piece of parchment paper. I'm going to use that to roll it out and flip it into the pan. I will be using a dry cast iron pan. Oh, that is really sticky. Traditionally, naan bread's a little more oval than I've got working here, but if it tastes, if it tastes good and if it holds together is really what my point is in this experiment. Let's make this one a little more oval. Yeah, 3 tablespoons is too much, and the recipe calls for 6 to 8. Yeah, oat flour might absorb more water than this, but this is really soft and sticky. It's not sticking to my hands if I flour it, but it's really too soft to manage well. And one more. Oh, this one's really sticky. Let's try this one again. I'm adding more flour to this, and we'll find out if this extra dry will have a better texture or not. But in order to tell this one apart once they're cooked, I'm going to make this one completely round. Okay, let's give this a try. I'm going to carry these over to the stove. See if I can do it without dropping any. I'm not going to oil this pan. I did oil it when I put it away last time with a little bit of flaxseed oil. I do that to protect its seasoning. It's smoking, so I know it's getting hot and I can feel the heat coming off. Let's try one of the moist ones first. There's enough room. I'm going to try 2 of them. This is the one with the extra flour. This is the one that came out of the recipe as it was. The instructions say to cook them 1 to 2 minutes per side. They shouldn't need more than 3 minutes. I don't know if they're going to expand or not. They have baking soda and they have a little bit of acidity from the yogurt, but we'll just have to wait and see what happens. It looks like this one might be puffing a little. At least it's not sticking. Oh, that looks lovely. Doesn't that look fantastic? Let's get the other ones in here. I don't think this is cooked through. This one is sticking. That's definitely raw inside still. Let's give these a test. This one that I used the extra flour in definitely cooked easier. I'm testing one of the oval ones. It doesn't taste like naan bread. And naan bread should be flexible. Is there any flex to this? No, I'm not going to be able to grab my food with it. It's going to break. Oh, I can taste the baking soda. Oh, yeah, at the end you can really taste the baking soda. This one it might look flexible there, it's actually breaking. It's really not going to be good wrapping bread at all. Oh, that baking soda. No, it's not. That's not a good recipe at all. And even if I had done a whole cup of oat flour instead of mixing almond and all-purpose, you'd still be able to taste that baking soda. I'll eat it with my dinner because I don't want to waste it, but I won't use that recipe again. I'm going to need to have a pretty strong drink with my dinner to rinse that down. We're having green tomato curry. Come on down to the counter and watch as I pull this together. I have a 2-cup, 540 milliliter size can of chickpeas. I haven't canned my own chickpeas yet. You can make this with chicken or pork or lamb or whatever you'd prefer. Tonight we've chosen chickpeas. I have a pot of rice in the rice cooker going, and I'm using 1/2 pint jars of green tomato curry that I canned in October of 2022. These are delicious and we love them, but we just haven't been grabbing them. We need to make these move a little bit. Green tomatoes and onions with all of the seasonings. That's basically all there is to the recipe. It smells fantastic. It was at the end of October, and I had green tomatoes coming off that I had to snag them before they got frost. Put some heat under this. And that's that. I just have to heat that through. So this is jar 2. I'll probably put a 3rd jar in there just to even out the ratio with the chickpeas. You can get smaller jars of chickpeas, or you could reserve some of the chickpeas for another recipe. Oh, I wish you could smell this. If you're a person who likes curry at all, you would be loving the smell of this. That's 3 jars of the curry, so that's equal to 3 cups. And I'm going to leave it right there at that. The chickpeas are still a little bit more abundant than I would typically like, but that'll give us our protein part of the meal. I just have to heat this through. And when the rice is ready, and this is ready with my naan bread, that'll be dinner. How quick is that? How long does it take to cook rice? 20 minutes. If you use a long grain or wild rice, it might be 40 minutes. But that's all there is to it. Rice, chickpeas and curry, and naan bread. I'm looking forward to hearing what Dan's opinion is of this bread.
Not bad.
Okay.
It's good. I like it. Oh, why am I looking over there?
Because you can't resist my beauty.
Yes.
Is that bread okay?
Yes, it's good.
Don't have a funny aftertaste? Tell me if I'm the one that's got the funny aftertaste or if it's really the bread.
It's got a little bit of taste, but by itself it's...
Okay, you want to taste the curry? It's hot.
Yeah. Good. Needs a little hot sauce though.
Of course it needs hot sauce. Everything needs hot sauce. We know we like the curry. It's probably going to burn my mouth because it's hot. Yeah, that's delicious. Is it weird that I want to put butter on top of it? But I do, and I probably will. This is my dinner for Tomato Thursday. I haven't set out a specific day of the week for certain things with these videos, but I like to do Fendsday Wednesday, I like to do Tomato Thursday, I like to do Try It Tuesday, which is trying something ethnic. It doesn't have to be tacos. It could be Taco Tuesday, but it could be something else. And I like to have a Sunday dinner so that we have leftovers for a few days. Otherwise, we just kind of wing it, and this is something that needed to be used up in the pantry. I still have 9 more jars, so we'll be eating this for the next couple of weeks. Thanks for hanging out with me, guys. Thanks for sticking around to the end. I will see you next time.